With hilarity and opinion with Jamie, Simon and Hutch. The Newcastle Comparison, live weekly on NUFC Talk Radio, on YouTube and in all your listening platforms. NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
So we were kind of doing okay, but we're just from open play. I don't think we could open a bag of Haribo. Like we struggle to cut through teams in open play. Like I just think there was so much just faffing around on the ball, and Brentford are clearly a very well drilled side. Their position in the league isn't lying. They are.
Let's not be all give Brentford credit, right?
Well, I think there's something missing for that. Look, fair enough. But yesterday was miserable. Let's not play around with it. The weather has been bad for 600 days, and we lost. But pragmatically, Brentford aren't mugs in this league. Like they've had some decent results. I think they've beaten Liverpool. They beat Villa away with 10 men last week. Like they are not. They are not mugs. But we did not give them much to deal with. Like the goal we scored is from our one set piece that seems to be working for us, which is that corner where we drill it on top of the keeper and all their defenders and just cause carnage and try and disrupt any kind of sensible set piece. And then the other one was
that corner. I think
it's good. No, it's a weapon. Yeah, but it can't be our only weapon. That's the problem.
It should be from a corner because it works. But
for corners, it's the one that works. Yeah.
So basically, for anyone who can't imagine it, Bruno tries to score from the corner, doesn't he? He basically whips an in-swinger in that he's aiming for the back post. Everybody attacks that back post, and either someone gets a head on it or it creates. The fact that he scored from a corner, I think, gets in the keeper's mind, and it creates such havoc that it keeps working. But then I was complaining because later in the game they were doing other things, stupid shorties, or Tonali, who seems to have checked out, booting it right out of play.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and those aspects of the game were very frustrating. I think the penalty against Murphy is harsh. So harsh, but like when your luck's down, that's the kind of thing that happens. And then their last goal was the worst because Trippier is so far away from being in line with the rest of the defence, and if he's there, that just doesn't happen. And like the Trippier seems to be like the spirit animal of what's going on with Newcastle United at the moment. When he was brilliant, our fortunes were rising, and like he yesterday had a very poor game. I think a friend of mine pointed out he's probably one of the slowest players in the Premier League now, and barring one immense ping, which we know he's capable of, one crossfield ball, he had probably one of the worst games I've seen for him, and it was just hard to watch him, which was indicative of the whole game yesterday, which was hard to watch.
I agree with that, but I'll see you Kieran Trippier and I'll raise you Sandro Tonali because I thought he was so off it yesterday. So, Hutch, I'm going to bring you in. For anyone watching on YouTube, your contrast seems up. Your lips are the colour of a baboon's bum. You look like that.
Let's see what he says based on that.
Could be a metaphor, couldn't it? But Hutch, Tonali, Toon Not there is saying Tonali checked out a long time ago. 0 goal contributions in the Premier League this season. Just didn't look like he fancied it.
Is that right? I thought he got a lucky goal contribution when he smacked the ball towards Voltemada, who definitely flicked it into the back of the net.
That would be in the Champions League against Union Saint-Gilloise.
Was that the Champions League versus Union Saint-Gilloise?
Yeah.
There you go. So there, yeah.
I bet you thought I hadn't researched that, didn't you, when I just blurted that out? Because you'd normally be right, but on this occasion, before I started seeing things, and I'm 80%, and that's right.
Given the way that in the stands yesterday, you were absolutely decimating Tonali with everything that you had.
Yeah, you weren't happy.
I should have realised that you would have come prepared to character assassinate everything about him. So yeah, he wasn't great. He just hasn't seemed bothered this season. Well, whether it's bothered or just not focused, it's one of those. But
his energy, it's the energy that's missing. His energy is so down, and it was one of the key aspects of his game. That energy just doesn't seem to be there.
And character assassination is incredibly harsh. I've not said anything against his character. I think, if anything, if anything, I get where Tonali's from and coming from, and we've got to sort of step outside of the Newcastle fans' mindset and think he's a guy who wants to earn a living, maximise his earnings, maximise his chance to win stuff. His agent, it's always the agent, they want to maximise their earnings, and we've said so many times that we can't pay, on this show, we can't pay the wages that Liverpool can, anyone in the old Septic Six can, and we're going to be vulnerable, our players getting taken. So I completely get him thinking like that, but I don't think he's applying himself on the pitch with that in his head.
Yeah, to be fair, we should have been well aware that he wants to maximise his earnings, given that he was gambling with them half those earnings in Italy, and consequently missed a year of football with us.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a it's a knife in the back, really, that if he's basically wanting to be out, that considering the club stood by him, the fans stood by him for an entire year, having just moved from AC Milan, to be out for a year, to have one good season, and now to just not really seem that bothered is a bit of a kick in the teeth.
I wonder if he sees playing all of last season's, winning that League Cup, playing this season where, yeah, we've been in the Champions League, but it's generally been disappointing. I wonder if he sees that as kind of debt repaid, because obviously he's here till the summer. And if he sees it as being, not only has he given us, well, one good season, a little bit at the start of the season he signed, and this season as well when he's perhaps too good for us. If he sees that as, plus the fact that we would make it probably quite a tidy profit on him from any sale, given the length of contract. If he sees that as okay. But the rumours just don't stop flying. I saw Man United earlier. We've seen Arsenal. We've seen Man City. We've seen Juventus. Someone seen Real Madrid in the chat. I think what next? Manchester Rovers, the 1970 Brazil team. And to be honest, the other factor here, if he keeps playing like that, none of this lot's particularly going to fancy him come June time.
Yeah. I some of how Brentford played yesterday and how we were set up seemed to not give him the best platform though either. Like you made the point during the game, Jake. You made the point during the game that we're missing Joe Linton, and I think we are missing a bit of a bastard in centre midfield who does the water carrying, because I think Tonali's better than a water carrier. And if he's being asked to do that, that's probably not the best use of him, which doesn't give him an excuse for run out for how he played yesterday. And also yesterday, like you saw, what's his name?
What does he look like?
Joe Willock was so far pushed onto the left hand side.
I don't know.
And Harvey Barnes was nearly playing as a second striker in the first half.
You make someone's trip to Paris with a brilliant equaliser and 1 week
Sorry.
later.
Sorry, Adam.
Forgotten your name. Forgotten your name.
Joe Willock, who I thought played probably one of the best out of the midfield three yesterday. I was a bit. I think we were a bit confused when he went off. But he was like carrying the ball up that left hand side, but that left Tonali and Bruno in the middle to deal with whatever Brentford would have. And I think Tonali and Bruno just couldn't get a grip on the game, which really didn't help. But yeah, I think his energy seems to just have gone for some reason. So yeah, something's in his head.
I mean, I'm probably only singling him out because we know he's so good and because he's been in the papers. Well, you know, the media with clearly touting for a move that I think if you were a betting man, which we know he is, you'd put money on it happening in the summer. But they were all relatively. I think.
I thought we weren't doing the character assassination. I thought you weren't. I thought that was just a little jab a sneaky jab in the ribs. That was.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, that's hardly casting aspersions, is it? The bloke got banned for it for 10 months.
Yeah, it was legally proven in a court of law, but yeah, okay.
But I think it was kind of a microcosm in the season because to me there was two players that probably emerged with any credit from the game, which was Bruno and Lewis Hall, and I think you would say that about the season.
I would disagree with that. I genuinely thought that Sven Botman had a good game. I think everything that they did came down their right hand side. Jacob Murphy in the first half went completely missing and was passing the ball more to them than he was to us. Kieran Trippier is past it and has been past it for a while now. So him being the understudy to a constantly injured Tino Livramento was never going to work. We've said God knows how many times now that Chow looks like he needs a break and he's probably never going to get one, despite the fact that Dan Burn is back now. He was on the bench. And then it doesn't help that we can't score goals.
No.
If we could put the ball into the back of the net, our defence wouldn't be under the cosh.
The thing I'd say though as well about the goals we do concede, because the things that have happened again here, the things that have really annoyed me, and we'll come on to the annoyance in a bit, the two factors, throwing away a lead, 20 points in the Premier League dropped this year, 20 points from winning positions. Now, I have researched that. The one thing I haven't looked at, and I don't even want to, is where we'd be in the table if we'd held on to those 20 points, because it's kind of wasted energy. But I'll bet me buns to a barn dance it's somewhere in the Champions League zone. But there's that, and there's the way we concede on the counter-attack. And what you're saying about Botman, I do think he's looked a little bit of his old self since he came back, and I would have patience with him because of the injuries he's had. But I don't think you can exclude the defence, any of them, for the way they look during a counter-attack. There's always somebody who's got space. In my match report for the mag, which is available at www.themag.co.uk, I've described it as a lot of the goals we concede it looks like we've had a defender sent off earlier in the game. It looks like they've got a man advantage. And I wonder if it's partly because we're tired, but I think the way the defence was a couple of years ago was so strong that you just didn't get these stupid goals going in.
One point on that, though.
I think your point that Joelinton helps that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Joelinton's 1 point, but the other point is when we were consistent, we had a consistent back four, and that has not been the case this season. We've had to change that back four regularly because of all the injuries. And also, one thing on Trippier yesterday, if you saw where he was stood like on the halfway line at right back. With his age and pace, he shouldn't be doing that now because he can't. And I think that was probably one of the reasons for the third goal. But I think because we've turned over so many players in that defence, it's so hard to get consistency. And when we had that first season when we got in the Champions League, our injury record was like tiny, and we were one of the tightest defences in the league because of that unit of Bruno, Joelinton, and the back five, and then maybe Longstaff or Willock. So because of that consistency, and it's been missing this season, that hasn't helped that at all. But yeah, we've seen that weakness time and time again.
We've mentioned Trippier a few times, but super chats are open. But we are quite kind, so I'll look at some comments for free. But if you're watching on YouTube, super chats are open. If you want something read out, if you want
allegedly,
challenge Hutch, don't get that close to the microphone. You sound like Darth Vader shouting from the inside of a washing machine drum. Right? I'm terribly sorry about him, everybody. But I think we've touched on Trippier a bit, and Kenny said, ever since Mrs. Trips left, Trippier has been hanging out down the quayside with nice young lasses, shall we say. Well, he's been crap. And I think that we're looking at about the turn of the year in sort of 2025, I think that all that went down. And I would say he did recover and have a bit of a purple patch around about when we won the League Cup, when Hall broke his foot. And he was very good then and kind of back to his old self. But we've made the point, haven't we? He's got too old, and you don't want to tarnish his time with this club because he's been one of the all-time top signings we've ever made. But there's a danger that a lot of the memories are of this season and disasters like yesterday. I don't think there will be. I think we'd always look back on the positives. But I don't think there's any doubt he'll go in the summer. But the injuries of the two fullbacks that we've got have meant that he's played an awful lot this season. But I think that the theme is there, sort of, without, as you say, getting into libelous statements or anything, it's common knowledge he's had disruption in his private life, and that seems to have affected him on the pitch, and then age has caught up with him a little bit. And I wouldn't be shocked if it's Saudi or something for him in the summer that was regularly mooted, wasn't it? Or have I just completely made that up?
I mean, I think in 10 to 20 years' time, all of these players will live long in the memory as the first team that broke the cup. Look, however, I said it to you guys last summer that it felt right to kind of disband this squad to a bigger effect than we did do over the summer. And in the short to medium term, you're looking at players like Trippier, who could have gone, say, last winter to Bayern, could have gone last summer. Again, Joelinton isn't fit. We desperately need someone with strength in that midfield. And we don't have anyone because Joelinton's on the injury bench.
We need a bastard. We do. We need someone in midfield to do that job. Absolutely.
A bar steward, Simon. We're on the radio now. Thank you very much.
Bar steward, yeah.
Jacob Murphy is like 31, 32 years old now, and he got the maximum number of assists in the Premier League last season. Well, to say the maximum, the highest number of assists, other than with joint with Salah. That was probably the absolute perfect time to get some money in for him, and we're back to Jacob Murphy being basically Steve Bruce Jacob Murphy. He's just not performed this season at all. And there's you can basically go through the entire team and say yeah, that was the right time to sell that person. We haven't refreshed the goalkeeping department other than Ramsdale, who hasn't been great.
It's not that simple as saying you like. I think the thing is, you've got urgent need to refresh, and to be fair, from the Murphy perspective, they tried that with Alanga and it just hasn't worked. And I think we'd all have accepted Murphy as a second right winger. But like you're right, Nick Pope, Dan Burn, players that are all getting on, Joelinton. You need to freshen it up, but we just the PSR thing, innit? We just haven't got the money to build a whole new team.
But if you'd sold those players, you could have brought in young players who would have at least had energy and pace.
So that's maybe the thing, isn't it? We don't seem to have any sort of new blood coming through that can be in and around the squad. It feels like when there's young people on the bench, they're just there to fill the quota on the bench, and there's no intention whatsoever of bringing them into the team, which either means Howe isn't blooding them or they're just not good enough. I think the kids who were on the bench, like when we were in the 23-24 season, we had the injury crisis, Ben Parkinson and all that. When they've been released, they've all gone to like non-league clubs and stuff, haven't they? So that's maybe a problem that should be turned around. But fundamentally, we've got to turn this around.
Just a quick one on Nick Pope as well, because his distribution kills us at times. He floats. He looks so panicky. We know when he gets the ball to his feet, and if he kicks it forward, it's this like floaty ball that's just there for defenders to eat up and knock away. And then his throwing wasn't great yesterday either, which is normally one of his stronger suits. But we need a goalkeeper that can distribute better than him. Like, and also, could he have done slightly better with some of the goal, like the third goal yesterday as well? It went under him.
The third
goal,
it
was a slippy
day. At the time, I thought like he's just put the spot between his legs, but looking back at it, it does look very soft. I think he kind of drops on it and ever so slightly touches it, and it sort of bimbles into the net pathetically.
But he has, again, another player that has been brilliant with us when that back five was consistent and solid. But yeah, it's too many gaps this season.
But you could see at the end of last season and during pre-season that he wasn't at his best. And whether or not you thought, oh, that could just be a blip, or whether you thought, this is a guy severely out of form and getting worse, then you needed to address that situation at that point. And the only thing that they did was they brought Ramsdale in on loan.
Yeah. Well, I think that was because they courted James Trafford for so long and they got gazumped to him, and then they had to have a plan B quite quickly. So it was a bit of a stick and plaster, I think, getting Ramsdale in for this season with a view to moving on a goalie in the summer, which I'm sure we'll do. But that's a bigger question. It's how does this get put right? Because we've got still a bit of time to go in this season, still a bit to play for. But as I said earlier, there was a lot of turning yesterday, I think. I think we've lost the League Cup, which we all knew we would before the second leg. Or if you surely must have strongly suspected we were going out at the Etihad. But we've had that chasing and defeated Liverpool. We've got the Champions League playoff going to Azerbaijan, which will be stretching. And we've got an FA Cup tie away to Villa that we've got to be strongly favoured to lose. And you can get something out of the season, but there's the crowd turned for the first time at St James. I think they were singing in the first half, singing Eddie Howe's Black and White Army, and at the end of the game they were booed off. There's been, I think, if you look from our WhatsApp groups that we're in, there was a lot of people saying that's kind of a bit of a straw that broke the camel's back. And certainly if you look online, and I know that online reaction tends to veer to extremes, but I'm sensing a lot more people saying that there needs to be a change. Do you think Eddie Howe's run his course? He looked a bit of a beaten man in the press conference.
I'll go. No, not yet. So, and this was widely used in our WhatsApp groups yesterday, and There seems to be two camps. It's Howe out, or it's PSR, and also the structure of the club that's not helped put us in the position that we're in now. So for me, and it's not using. I know someone's commented there with using PSR as an excuse. It's not PSR alone. PSR is a game to be played, and I don't think we've had the setup to play it properly, in the sense that we've swapped the board, like the backroom staff, twice in 2 summers. And you noted it, I think, in your match report, Jamie. The only one left is Eddie Howe, who was the key part of that whole of the success we've had so far. So PSR is a blocker for us, but we haven't played the game properly with PSR, and that is because the organisation and the backroom organisation hasn't been there. And I think that's been an issue that's led to this point. We haven't carried on momentum in terms of how we've set up the club. So I don't think Howe's completely to blame. He does have weaknesses.
I think I'm gonna credit our mate T-Bone, T-Bone,
exactly, yeah,
with a point that I think is very true, which is that when PIF took over and they put the associated parties transaction rules in exclusively to stop Newcastle getting a lot of sponsorship money from Saudi Arabia, they haven't fought that. They haven't tried to push the envelope. They haven't brought any court cases. And you can see from the way that Man City seem to have the Premier League on the run over I've lost track of how many charges they've got now. Is it 130 or something? The Premier League doesn't have the money or the appetite to fight a particularly aggressive court case. But not only has the PIF not tried to fight that, they haven't tried to sort of grease the wheels. Nothing happening with the ground, nothing happening with his sponsorship. So my point that I made about Eddie Howe being the only consistent in the success, because it's been massive success over the last few years. Because PSI is a factor. We're 200 million to 400 million behind Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United. It's a factor, but we've managed to overcome that, to finish in the Champions League places, to finish the League Cup, and Eddie Howe's been the only consistent factor that's still here. If he leaves, then you've not really got any sense of belief that things might get better, because nobody's proved themselves. The PIF haven't stepped up and pushed a load of money to the club. The chief executive's new and unproven. The sporting director is new and unproven. They're talking a good game, but they haven't had a summer yet to try and improve matters. So we could end up going backwards. But I'll take this point here that Tanguy Vivid said, because the thing I think you think is the second part of the point. So PSR is a reason, but you look at Brentford and how smart they've bought. They've lost all the best players over the last couple of years, and players like Atara and Thiago were just setting the place alight. And I mean, there's the fact that they haven't had the cup games we've had, but you can't keep going back to that. We just haven't made the strides in the transfer market to keep up with where we are. And between getting caught on the counter, between the away games thing, do you think Howe's maybe just run out of ideas?
It's not that he's run out of ideas. He hasn't tried anything else.
So he's had one idea, he's run out of it.
Basically, yeah. This is the one thing that is actually it's really grinding me down this season. Is that, yeah. So we all listen to, for instance, to put on the time, and George Culkin keeps saying that he doesn't have time to go to the training ground and do something else. But it's amazing that everyone else does. Liam Rosenior's coming at Chelsea. They've got exactly the same number of games as us. He's implemented an entirely new strategy on how to play, and they're winning games. Eddie Howe has the time to go to on the training pitch and figure something else out, and yet we seem incapable of doing it. So every single match, we're going and playing the ball sideways until we get into a crossing position, and lo and behold, we cross the ball in, and there's no one there to score, because we're not playing with an Alexander Isak anymore. Joe Linton's not making late runs to the box anymore. Anthony Gordon has also checked out and is not making runs to the back post anymore. We are not scoring goals from crossing positions, and yet we are still playing the same game.
Yeah.
It has stopped working. We would be in a lot more trouble if we hadn't actually learned how to score from one corner routine. And the second that the Premier League figures that out, we are in serious trouble.
To be fair, he did go full Mike Bassett though yesterday, didn't he? Because when he made the subs at half time and they walked out, we were like, he's gone 4-4-2. Which to some like deep Sunday League player in me just became extremely happy for a short period of time, and suddenly they started playing those balls like between the centre backs and the full backs, like for the wingers to run onto and cross in. I was like, yes, this is football, but it didn't work out in the end.
I've just got to pull you for something there, because if you think the Sunday League clogger in you is deeply hidden, you're very severely lacking self-awareness. The way you stand up and cheer fouls, or shout for.
I do. I do that. You just like a good foul, though, don't you? Like a really.
Well, not as much as you do, like
I do love a good foul. Yeah. Oh, I used to the glory days of Alan Smith getting his one book in every game, having his suspension, coming back, doing the same. I used to love those days.
I wonder though, right? Like, it's possible we'll come to the end of this era, and I'm gonna jump back to Big Joe, because I think when we look at this, and whatever comes out of this season, I hope there'll be good memories of the Champions League and run to the League Cup semi-finals, and potentially, hopefully, a couple of good ones to come. But overall, over the 4 years, the team, the squad that went from the bottom of the league to win the League Cup and the Champions League is needing totally revamped. And I think Joe Linton will be remembered as possibly the most important player, because I'm going to get this down for the next couple of weeks. But I think when he doesn't play, we lose games like that where they just walk through us. When he plays, all right, we don't always play well in those games, but we win them. And it's because of that sort of thing. He'll do fouls. He'll take people out in hard tackles, and he'll just generally put himself about aggressively in a way that I think the opposition midfield's just terrified the whole game. Like, they're getting the ball and they're thinking, I'd better get rid of this before Joe Linton collywobbles us. So I think it's maybe he's the most important player. And Tonali, Bruno, Miley have all got a bit of that. But we need an absolute beast, and that is not an easy thing to replace.
Yeah.
There was a moment yesterday when Aja picked up the ball, like Aja being their central defender, and just ran the entire length.
He did, yeah.
And no one challenged him. And you've got to think as well, that if he'd crossed Joe Linton's path at any point, he was getting upended, stamped on.
There was a good foul coming, a really good foul. Yeah, yeah.
Possibly clotheslined, but
Saudi do love the wrestling.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's been a couple of points right here whereby there is players will need to move on, like Trippier, and you can make your own list of how extensive that is. There is players that look like they're angling to move on. We've mentioned Tonali. Livermento's name keeps coming up. Would you sell Livermento to City if they put 75 million down, given his injury record?
Yes.
I would too. I would say, he ain't no Lewis Hall. And so if you sold both of them, in addition to the leftovers of the ASIC money, in addition to any increased income, and in addition to what you make from offloading peripheral players, could have a canny war chest this summer. The question is, does Eddie Howe get that? Or do you start with a new manager and build a new team up from scratch? So what I'm gonna do is we'll keep swinging around to this, but I'm going to ask you both, what's your answer to that right now? Howe, given a lot of money, although it should be Ross Wilson picking targets starting from now, but Howe given the new team, or do you get a new manager in?
Hutch, you go first.
I think with what is David Hopkinson, isn't it? What he said the other day on TalkSport, you've got 5 years before you realistically want to compete for the Premier League and in the Champions League regularly.
He said win the Premier League.
Win the Premier League. I don't think Eddie Howe is capable of that. Every single time we've had Champions League football, he's run out of ideas up until the point where he's had weeks to develop something new. He can't turn it on a dime. And he's proving it this season. Whereas I know Simon's going to disagree with me.
So is your response basically that you would get a new manager this summer?
I think we need someone who is capable of doing who is capable of playing in both, has proven himself capable of playing in both, managing a team in European and domestic competition. And I'm sorry, but that's not Eddie Howe. I love the man, but it's not him.
Simon?
Keep him. When we've watched us at the top of our game with the squads that we've had, we've beasted teams. Like when we've been like pressing teams, rolling over them, when we've had a Joe Linton and a consistent back four, we were nearly in and amongst the top of this league. And if you look at the quality of those teams now, the Man City's, Liverpool's, if we had the Howe system with all the right parts to it and a squad that can work on, play on many different fronts all at the same time, I think you've got to give him a shot, because I think he has got it in him, and I think he's worth a go.
It's kind of a catch-22 though, based on what Hutch said, because it looks a bit unlikely that we'll be in Europe next year. I know that's still a bit of water to flow under the bridge, but you'd think if you kept him, he would have a good season next year, but then you might just be kicking the can down the road with the problem. And when we do go back into whichever European competition, could we be back to having a season like this? And do you just meet the problem head on now?
So, well, is that the problem then? Because if you got another manager in now, you could have, I don't know, the best manager in the world in. He's going to have the same problem.
I think the issue is the way he plays is intensity is our identity, where it's all about the high press and things like that. And without a plan B, where you don't need to do that, you can't play Saturday, Wednesday. So you need a different plan to conserve energy. And I think when he brought in the David Bunce, is it, the conditioning guy, he said you can't just hear it everybody twice a week, because you'll get the injuries you had last season. And he's just tried to do sort of like a halfway thing between something and nothing. And on occasion, you see like, you'll come out of a game and go, we pressed brilliant there. I mean, yeah. PSV, we beat them in half an hour by pressing. And but he's picking and choosing. And I think he hasn't learned yet to find a way of doing it other than that. And that's the frustrating part for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that was a problem against Brentford yesterday, because we didn't hound them. We didn't go after them. Whether we had the players to do it or not, the intensity wasn't there at all.
James Bunce, thanks, Lynn. I think I said Frank, didn't I? Is that the boxing commentator? But yeah, I think, well, one in each camp there. What I'll do is I'll kind of revisit it, because I think there's a couple of things to look at. First of all, I wouldn't be doing a knee-jerk and getting rid of Eddie Howe, because there's no obvious caretaker to who I could see getting a reaction, who I could see mixing it in the last 16 in the Champions League. And I very, very much doubt they've laid the groundwork to get a successor in. Nearly every time, you're better off picking a successor in the summer. So I'd say there's 2 points to look at. Number one, give him the FA Cup. If we can get past Villa, which I wouldn't back us to, although Villa have kind of crumbled a bit since they beat us the other week. But if we can get past Villa, that trophy's still on the table, and see if we can galvanise it in the latter part of the season in the way we did the League Cup when we had a bit of a fall away last season. And then if we do go out with Villa, the next big checkpoint is the derby next month. So if we are out the FA Cup, if we are further down the league, because we've got to go to Man City and Chelsea before then, Sunderland are going to turn up knowing they can create an absolute diarrhea storm for us. And at the minute, they're a tough team to beat. They're not brilliant away from home. A lot of their points coming to the Stadium of Light. But I think they would be so up for that game. And if this, bearing in mind, I think we'll have just played our second leg against Karabag. If this fatigued-looking version of us turns up, I think that derby could go badly, and that could be it. And if it goes that way, I think that's a fair month. I think we owe Eddie that month to try and sort it out. But I'd just be looking to kind of change things because the season's been a disaster with some reason, but not really enough. So I think we'll talk about it, Next week we'll play Villa. We'll see how we feel about that after the game. And after the draw, if applicable. But
I would just like to say, right, I am not die-hard Howe out. However,
no,
with the way that things are going at the present moment in time, in the summer, I would be looking to replace him.
And that's the way to be as well, because I think some people are so die-hard Howe out, they're practically wanting Newcastle to have terrible defeats so they can get on the internet and say, I told you so. It's like they're more Howe out than they are Newcastle fans. So I think a balanced view of saying there's things that aren't really working, but still maintaining that you'd hope it could work, and you'd want the positives to come to the fore. I think that's the way to be, but you're just being rational. So we'll see, Simon, if you stick that way for the rest of the season,
or if you mean totally irrational, Simon. Okay?
Well, it's just his view. That's it.
Yeah,
plenty of different viewpoints. Before we go into midweek, I'm just gonna start a little bit of comparison stuff. Because after all, 'tis what we do. I'm going to add a picture.
Oh yes.
Now, the picture's obviously, I've got to be wary of this now that we're on the radio. The picture is relevant to anyone watching on YouTube, and to anyone else, it's fundamentally not. So I'll put it in there, and it's quite hard to see anyway, but this is, I think, a very interesting comparison. It's a double comparison. So we normally do games, we normally do times. This is whole entire season comparisons. So what I'd say to everybody, if you remember, there's two seasons that remind me an awful lot of this one. The first one is 1997 to 98, when Kenny Dalglish was manager. Now, looking across that season, it was very much cup influenced. So we got the FA Cup final. We were in the Champions League and played in the group stage. The year we beat Barcelona, but we went out coming third in the group. And we got the quarter-final of the League Cup. However, in the Premier League, and bear in mind, we'd only ever come top six in the Premier League era by this point. In the Premier League, we came 13th. I distinctly remember going into the last home game of the season with a relegation threat hanging over our head, but we came fairly comfortable. I think we beat Chelsea. And look at that record, won 11, drew 11, lost 16. We only had 3 away wins all season, and we lost 5 home games, some of them pretty disappointingly. So what happened there was 2 things that I think are relevant to today. First of all, the Cups drove the season so much that we took our eye off the ball in the league. And second, the transition from a brilliant era under Kevin Keegan, for whatever reason, was mismanaged. The next manager got these signings wrong, sold the wrong players, bought the wrong players. And before you know it, we had a team that just didn't work. The other season is 2004-5. Now, I've put Graham Souness as the manager, but the first 4 games were managed by Bobby Robson. And this is what everyone really needs to think about, because they clearly got it wrong with Bobby Robson. They should have either sacked him or moved him upstairs at the start of the summer and had the pick of the next manager, or they should have stuck with him for that season. Very, very similar theme. Semi-final of the FA Cup when we went to Cardiff, lost to Man United. Quarter-final of the UEFA Cup when we lost to Sporting Lisbon. Round of 16 of the League Cup. And if you look at the league, won 10, drew 14 and lost 14. 3 away wins and 5 home defeats. Exactly the same and exactly the same points total as the Kenny Dalglish season. And if you compare that to this season, it's just the same sort of thing. Obviously, we don't know how things are going. But 12th in the Premier League with 33 points. Won 9, drew 6, lost 10. We know we've got to the semi-final of the League Cup and deep into the Champions League, and we'll see what happens with the FA Cup. But the Cups have kind of brought some cheer. But overall, the league season's ending disappointingly. And I think, do you reckon 11 points would be about par for what we've got left? I think we can get a bit more than that. Do you reckon, or is that being a happy clapper?
No, I think that's sensible.
Do you think 11's about right, or given the fixtures we've got left?
I think we'll do better. Yeah, I think better than top 10. Well, as in the top 10. I don't think
we'll get the top half.
Yeah, no problem.
So, well, we'll see, because top half, just getting into the top half, you might be in with a shout of Europe. But both of these seasons, I think, were both at the end of really positive eras. So they were slightly different in that Keegan left, and Dalglish came in mid-season, whereas Robson was removed and Souness came in after a couple of games. And I think that the point I'd make here is just do it right. Whether that is removing Howe and bringing somebody else in but doing it properly, or whether it's keeping Howe and backing him and making sure that we approach a new season right. Because in both of those cases, the first time it led to a fall away whereby we needed to get Bobby Robson in to repair it after a couple of seasons. And the second time, it basically started a downward spiral that ended in relegation in 2009.
Yeah, exactly.
So it needs to be done right. So that's my comparison contribution for this week. I'm probably not going to say anything when we come to that bit, but I'll give you a chance. Do we want to have a look at what else has happened this week? So, I mean, it kind of feels a bit irrelevant in a way now, or a long way off that we went out of the League Cup. But a horrible comparison actually is last year we played our final League Cup game, which was winning the final, and then went on to beat Brentford at home. This year we've played our final League Cup game, which is going out and losing our grip on the trophy, and then we've lost to Brentford at home. So how were you feeling Wednesday, wasn't it? Wednesday night, were you feeling balanced because it was always going to happen, or just hiding behind the sofa after that first half hour?
Oh, they just unleashed the rest of their squad on us, didn't they? Really, it was exactly how we thought it might go. There's no other way of saying it. The only little surprise out of that game was Alanga's goal, which was just so un-Alanga in terms of his performances for Newcastle so far. It was an excellent goal. More of that is the only thing as a Newcastle fan I took away from that game. Like the rest was just properly on script, which was disappointing, yet not surprising.
The first 2 goals that they scored were so unlucky.
The Dan Burn one was ridiculous. Yeah,
it was a situation where we had to go forward, we had to press, we had to attack to get anything out of it, and then that first goal was just an absolute sucker punch. I mean, to be fair, their last goal in the first leg was a sucker punch, but then they basically wrapped it up with that, and then the second one as well, like it kind of like just bounced off him more than he was in the right place in the right time. And as a
Yeah,
consequence, it just put it beyond us. There was nothing else that they could do other than try. And to be fair, they did try, but yet again, it was a case of our forwards couldn't hit a barn door until the Langer came on and skinned them, basically. But it was so disappointing. So disappointing. I genuinely feel sorry for anyone who actually made the trip.
yeah, we considered it, didn't we? And I don't know, like, I'm actually making that trip in 2 weeks for the league game, and I'm I'm not expecting anything other than an absolute shellac, and I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just gonna. I think if you go in with your expectations that low, you can't really be disappointed, can you? But
Yeah.
but I
I'm going
think
with you as well.
yeah, you're down, aren't you? So yeah, but we've stopped questioning your decisions quite some time ago, haven't we?
Yeah, very much so.
But I think even up to then, even though I was sure we would go out, you still harboured a little bit of a thought that we might turn something up, something might happen. And when it
Yeah,
was
just get
actually
the
rubber
first goal.
stamped, I think we hadn't lost a League Cup game since 2024. We hadn't lost a proper tie since the final in 2023, and we've really, really embraced having that trophy, haven't we? And if we haven't already, we'll be sending it back in a couple of weeks. I never quite got to replicate my family photo because I wanted to get a photo of me and my kids sitting with the League Cup, because I got one with the Championship trophy when we won it in 2017, which is in my house. And as you both probably know, I'm on a mission to make everything on every wall in my house have some kind of Newcastle United theme. She hasn't noticed yet, but yeah, I just never got to meet it. Well, I did get to meet it, didn't I? Because it's on the cover photo of this show. I picked it up once, but I didn't have my whole family with us. And actually, good story about that. I picked it up and got a good photo ragging it about. And then I saw photos next week when some friends had went to meet it, and there were signs everywhere saying, "Do not touch this cup. You must not pick this valuable trophy up." And I thought, I did that. I've spoiled it for everyone. So if you wanted to touch the League Cup but couldn't, I'm sorry, it was my fault. So I think here's a question. Would you just leave it out of the equation next year if we were in Europe? Because we'd have been better off going out early, wouldn't we, than wasting all that energy.
There is an aspect of that, but I don't want to go back to the time when we weren't trying in the cup. I think
absolutely not. No, but
exactly.
There's a middle ground, isn't there?
There must be a middle ground. Yeah, it would be nice just to have an easy cup run. I'm not sure if it could have been much easier than the one we had, but yeah, like some nice. Like going to Rochdale before in the FA Cup was nice. Like this time we've got Villa away. Like it would just be nice to have some, like a smooth, easy couple of games where we can blood some of the young kids or something like that. But yeah, I don't want to go back to a time where we're chucking away cups again.
The best time to go out of a cup is in the first round if you're not going to, or the first round that you're in it if you're not going to win it. However, what's the point in football if you're not going to try and be competitive?
Yeah. I think in hindsight, I still wouldn't have liked to go out to Bradford City, because have you seen what their fans do to people online if you get beat off them? They just take over. They just take over all your comments with pictures of a chicken saying you've just been pecked by the chickens in Bradford City colours. And
do you mean bantams?
Well, no, they are properly called the bantams, but they say pecked by the chickens. I'm pleased you've actually put a thread on well, not a thread, a little video on our X account, Newcastle Comparison Check account, which is NUFC Comparison, if anyone wants to check it, of what they did to Doncaster when they beat them with a late goal the other day. And oh my God, That must have made Doncaster's night 10 times worse. Because that's like, I don't know. Well, it's a bit of a Yorkshire derby, isn't it? So it might have been even worse.
God.
So, anyway, I've been through like a little bit of a comparison situation, but there's a lot to talk about, and I think it's inevitable that every week we'll come back to saying how we feel about the Eddie Howe situation. Next week with the FA Cup, I think will be a big one. It's probably going to be a tough couple of weeks ahead. But it's going to go on and on. I can't see it reaching resolution before the end of this season. So I know we basically have a bit of a conversation about what we're going to compare, and it seems like we've all just done our own thing this week, which is probably a reaction to the overall mood of the Brentford game and not wanting to think about football. So, Hutch, I'm going to go to you because I think, if you're ready, you've got a little bit of a tribute to our outgoing former club captain, haven't you?
It's both a little bit of a tribute to our outgoing club captain and maybe slightly a dig at some of the players who are currently there. So
we're currently there. Well,
currently there. So Jamal Lascelles obviously was sold on the last day of the window. He's gone to Leicester. He played yesterday as well. Leicester got beat 2-1, but he did start for Leicester. So when
sounded like he did all right as well by some of the sentiment, but he was let down by somebody getting sent off, I think.
Yes, they had a man sent off, didn't they?
Mm. Sorry, go on.
I didn't look that deeply into it. I just tried to see whether he started or not, which he did. So when in the 15-16 season, when we would eventually be relegated, Jamal Lascelles basically came back to us. We'd signed him from Nottingham Forest. He spent the season there on loan with Carl Darlow. And then when he came, he was kind of like an understudy in the back row. But he soon made his way onto the pitch. And in a game against Everton in December of 2015, he came out after the match, having lost 2-1. Wayne Rooney's goal basically meant that we'd lost 7 times in 8 games. He said a few words. He said that there was a lack of character in the team. He basically called out the Newcastle players at the time to show more of themselves, to stand up. And he made a habit of that season, where he would come out after games and he would have words. And even under Rafa Benitez, when we started picking up points again, he'd come out and said that it still wasn't enough. And it was after that season, when obviously we got relegated, he became club captain. And I would just like to praise him for playing with his heart on his sleeve, always. And to be honest, I think we missed that kind of passion at the club. We're certainly missing it this season.
The thing I'd maybe say about that is it's a bit of a mystery, right? And I think he'd have been pretty far down the line, but he would at least have been on the bench if available. And you're right, I researched this as well. He started for Leicester and he played 70 minutes. So he's obviously fit. So why has he not been getting involved in the squad? Do you think that's related to something going toxic?
I have no idea.
It might be something contractual. It might have been he couldn't play anymore, otherwise he'd have to sign on or something like that. Who knows?
I think something's gone on because there was a nice video about him on the club account, but he hasn't put a statement out saying, as players tend to do. He's been here for 12 years, technically, and no talk of any sort of testimonial or anything, although I don't know if they're a thing these days. And for somebody who's been part of the furniture for so long, it does seem to have been quite relatively low-key. His absence has been unexplained. Eddie Howe said some cryptic things in press conferences, and I just wonder if it's something. I mean, it obviously is something, although I'm not being metaphysical, But he's. I wonder if something's gone on in the background whereby he's become persona non gratis. He used to like a fight. There's many reports around the town of him rolling around the floor of pubs, having straighteners with people, which again I think taps into what sort of character he is and what sort of character we needed.
Who was it the other day? He was talking about him fighting with Andy Carroll, next player. Can't remember the Irish guy. He was saying that him and Andy Carroll had a bit of a bust up in a pub once, which would be a fantastic
Irish
fight
guy.
to watch, I think. Yeah.
Steve Carroll?
No, really bang average. What was his name? Someone in the chat might get it, but he played like 4 games or something, and then we sacked him off to QPR or something like that, or Reading.
Right, okay, this is getting difficult now. So, QPR or Reading? You don't mean
Andy?
Stephen Ireland.
Who? What did Jamie say?
Are you thinking Stephen Ireland?
No, not Stephen Ireland.
Grant Handley?
No, Irish, not Scottish.
Well, I thought you might have got confused.
Which is why I said Stephen Ireland.
Anyway, it'll come back to me.
Well, right, anyway, not important.
But anyway,
but yeah, I mean, just difficult to understand what's gone on there. Maybe it'll come out in time. I don't know. But I think another one that probably should have been moved on a couple of years ago. I don't know if we got any money for him, but we could have got a couple of million if we'd sold him a couple of years back. But the last notable contribution I can remember him making is scoring against Chelsea 2 seasons ago.
He also played in the PSG 4-1 win.
He did.
Oh, did he?
Started
2 seasons ago.
Yeah, true.
So, you know...
Just to throw my in... Go on, sorry.
But then you would think that... Like, I do remember like Eddie Howe in a press conference a couple of weeks ago suggesting that it was something more like, you know, mental health related. That why he wasn't in the game. But given yeah, well, and also given like the fact that Chow's played every single minute since September, you would like to think that he would have been in and around the squad just to basically play the last 10 minutes of games when he looked wrecked.
Couple of people in the chat are saying, is it Jeff Hendrick you're talking about?
It was Jeff Hendrick.
It is
Thank
Jeff
you, Pete.
Hendrick.
Thank you, Kenny. That's the guy.
Right. Jeff Hendricks. So I think he played more than 4 times, didn't he? But, you know, he was just a bit unlucky that he was a rather poor Bruce signing who just couldn't get a shot off once the takeover happened. Can't blame the kid.
Just to throw my 2 pence in on Lascelles as well. I remember in that season before we got, as we were getting relegated, so I think that's 2015-16. But like the last, I think he'd worked his way into the squad that season, and by the end of that season, he was like this thoroughbred of a centre back. He was an absolute monster, and I just remember a couple of games where, like because we sit at the Gallowgate West corner, you'd see at the other end just him jumping up and heading balls, people, everybody out of the box, and trying to lead as much as possible. Which, and obviously that conversation you mentioned, Hutch, where he had a go, everybody was part of the reason for making him captain, but he was leading by his performances, and he was putting his body on the line, like, by the end of that season. And I just thought, like, my opinion of him changed, because there was one, he couldn't pass the ball. And I remember him having this, like, blind spot for Danny Simpson on the right-hand side. Danny Simpson would be 5 yards away from him on his right-hand side in space. And for some reason, he'd never pass to him. I don't know if that's because it was Danny Simpson, Premier League winning Danny Simpson. But yeah, he was a great, like, kick the ball, head the ball, centre-back for us. And, yeah, turned into a great leader for us. So fair play to him, and I wish him all the best at Leicester.
Did he?
I remember actually
the same name as Danny Simpson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, yeah.
Huh.
I actually remember when he
Might
came
have been
back
Danny
into the
Simpson.
Eddie.
I need to check that.
When he came back into the Eddie Howe squad, and me and you were wondering how he was going to perform, like in a more of a passing game. And the first thing he did was he turned and passed the trips, and we were like, "What?
Where did that come from?" Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because it just wasn't his style.
It was very much a hit it and hope.
Yeah.
Wasn't Danny Simpson in the Leicester team that won the 2016 Premier League?
Yeah, that's the thing that's throwing me off.
That was the year that.
Are you thinking
Lascelles joined Newcastle?
Might have been Debussy. He just couldn't pass to his. Oh, Yedlin. That's who I was thinking of.
Yedlin. Fast.
That's all he was. Yeah, but that's all he was. There was no other words. There was no other words apart from fast.
That diving header was spectacular.
Yeah, where he comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's a great clip. That we'll have to dig that out from somewhere. I think it's a maximum put it in.
Just to nowhere. There's nothing there, and then he just appears.
You would swear that was AI if you saw it these days, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, mad.
Someone, can you see he's still playing in the USA, Yedlin? He was playing with Messi at one point for
Inter Miami.
Messi plays for. Thank you. Get your research on this show. But
God, he's only 32. Crikey, I thought he'd be in his 40s by now.
Crikey, lummy.
Crivens, can't swear on the radio.
I know, but you just sound a bit stupid saying things like that.
You sound cufflink stupid.
It's like we're in a famous 5 adventure, isn't it? Oh, let's have some ginger beer.
Oh, darling Dash.
You don't get offended by ginger beer, do you? That's not.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Jeff Hendrick apparently scored 3 goals for us in how many appearances was that? 23. So I think I remember him scoring on his debut, and I remember him scoring that horrible game at Wolverhampton just before the takeover as well. But anyway, I don't know how Jeff Hendrick got in here, just because he's seen a few fights. Fair play to Jamal. Exactly. Yeah. I could put up what Niall said there. A great servant of the club, whichever way you slice it, whether he was fighting people as a substitute, scoring headers in the Championship, or trying to G up a relegation-bound team. Good luck to him at Leicester, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Simon, have you got yet another thing for a comparison this week before we move on?
Yeah, I've got one completely random comparison. So just because we were talking about those seasons where things started to slide, so you picked out, I think it was 2004, 2005, and I found a 5th round FA Cup game, so a bit further in the future than we are now because we're in the 4th round against Villa. But this was an FA Cup round 5 game, which we won 1-0. Can anybody remember the scorer?
What year?
2005. February 2005.
And who was the opposition? Is that the question?
Who's the scorer for us? We won 1-0. The opposition, I can tell you, was Chelsea.
Oh, Patrick Kluivert.
Correct, Patrick Kluivert. So, yeah, so this was post Bobby Robson era. So we still had Kluivert in the team. Shearer was still there as well. And we had a decent squad. And we were playing what became the powerhouse Chelsea as well. So this was an upset, I'd say, at the time. Patrick Kluivert was moving into his larger years. The evenings at Stereo on the quayside, which used to be a famous Newcastle pub, which I saw him in there once, along with Jermaine Ginas, were starting to take their toll on old Pat. But yeah, it was a great result. I was actually there on the day as well. It was one of the rare games I got to before I got my season ticket. So yeah, really good result. It took us through to the next round of the FA Cup, and we managed a semi that season. But sometimes a semi isn't enough, as we found out for the rest of the season. And we finished, as you said, 13th without getting to the final.
That's what you see when someone puts a big foul in, isn't it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but yeah, any reaction's enough. But yeah, who doesn't love a good foul? But yeah, that was my comparison. But yeah, I just mean, and also in line with the Villa game coming up as well, stranger things have happened when we've been underdogs in the cup and we're not going so well.
Have you finished Stranger Things yet?
I haven't finished Stranger Things yet. Why has that come up?
Why? Because you said Stranger Things has happened and it reminded us. This bloke has been watching that show
Don't, because people start putting freaking spoilers in the chat, and
you'd deserve it if they did. I'd normally be against that sort of thing. You've been watching it for about.
I'm enjoying it. Can a man not just
enjoying
man
it?
Not
what?
just man just not enjoy a thing at his own pace rather than having to move at society's pace?
Not a test match. There's like 8-hour-long episodes. You could be through them in a week comfortably.
Absolutely.
Can I take that on a slight tangent? Was that the goal season? As in the movie, the season where they filmed the goal?
Yes, it's that kit. So yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
That featured in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in the film.
The header. So
I was also there that day. Yeah, because they had signs on the side basically saying that they were filming for the movie goal.
Yeah, because they brought him on, didn't they, to like cheer for him or something like that? Yeah, I do remember. Yeah,
I've got a bit of a story about when they did that because around about that time, right, I went to Villa Park in the away end, and you're right, Hutch. Every time you walked into a turnstile for a game, there was a sign up saying, by entering this turnstile, you're giving permission for yourself to be in this film. So if you were on the run from the police or something, you had to make a decision whether to go to the game, I guess. But so I went into Villa Park and I was on the very end of a row, and there was a camera man like quite near to us, like looking in my direction.
And I bet you did nothing. You just acted completely naturally.
I got myself in this film. Yeah. But it was a little bit like doing this radio show because I was thinking, I'm going to get myself in this film by overacting, but I can't swear and do things that I'd normally do. So I was saying things like, come on, lads, play up United. Let's have another goal. Mince sausage roll. You know, all this sort
That's
of
exactly how you go on at the match all the time. What are you talking about?
It is, yeah. I'm enthusiastic but family friendly. I've got me little and he never hears me say anything that you don't want him to hear.
No.
If his mum's listening, he never sees anything. Listening. But yeah, I also used to live quite near Patrick Kluivert, right? And when he was at Newcastle, he lived up Jesmond, and I had a flat there. And I went in the local Tesco and I managed to get a hold of like a football sticker of Kluivert, and I stuck it next to the fresh donuts and with a sign up, do not serve this man, because he was putting a few pounds on. I don't know if he had a thing for donuts, but he was piling it on a bit while he was at Newcastle. And I wonder if
eating plenty of things at stereo
by saying, Simon, I wonder if he decided to get me back by saying, I'm going to send my son up there in a few years to fettle this lot, and the cheeky faces. Hey, we're getting good at this.
Not bad. Nice link.
It was one of the seasons I talked about before, because, you know, we beat Chelsea, we beat Tottenham, also with a Patrick Kluivert goal, and went to the semi against Man United and took a hiding in the same week we'd gone out the UEFA Cup to Sporting. And it was like Graham Souness had been surfing that season just based on how well those cups were going. And then the bottom kind of fell out. And is there a danger that Eddie Howe's going to do something similar? But I wouldn't compare Howe to Souness. I'd say, especially everything, you know, Howe's achieved for us, I'd say he has more power to turn it around. It's just a case of, is it the right call? So I'm going to just go through a few comments and then we'll look back to next week. Monkey Sputum suggesting that Sandro Tonali, I think, has gone to Fulchester United. Billy the Fish has been in his lug.
I think we need more evidence for that one. But yeah,
from the pages of Viz, which you know, it does have a bit of a connection to magazines I'm involved in. So, you know, I could put that suggestion forward if Billy the Fish is still in Viz these days. And interesting, Kenny saying, do you think Tonali realised the amount of games in England you play? He's already done 40. And that's maybe the wider problem, isn't it? There's just so many games. And if you think how much Man City changed their squad for that League Cup game, and I guess, you know, we've got that Champions League playoff. We should get past Karabag. I got furious the other day because I checked my bank. I thought Newcastle United had charged me £65 for a Quarrier bag, which wasn't stated when I bought that T-shirt there the other week, but turns out it was
terrible.
Where's
Terrible
that
dad
thing?
joke.
What goes?
That's
Chris has got it on here. So, right, wait. I know that.
No, it's not worth it. The moment's gone. Have it lined up or don't do it at all.
Tune in next week when I will have mastered the sound effects.
Oh God.
But yeah, lots of games, and you get that, don't you? Where sometimes, I mean, the Italian league's a lot slower. Sometimes it's a bit overwhelming for people making that adjustment to the Premier League. But Tonali's proved he can do it here, and I just think
he's already played at a much higher level.
It's part of it, isn't it? Lindsay, and I think this is a very valid point of view. Give Eddie another season with the sporting director making the signings. He's done amazing, achieved more than any manager. Be careful what you wish for. It could get a lot worse, new manager, which is the point I made with the Souness thing. The thing about bringing a new person in is it's not going to be a silver bullet to resolve everything that's going wrong. It won't make the PSR issues go away because they'll still be there 200, 300 million quid, 400 million quid. Some of them big six are making more than us. Without the Champions League, it'll be worse. And a lot of the managers that I hear people suggesting manage with a checkbook. Like Pep Guardiola's a fantastic manager, but he can buy who he wants when he wants. Jose Mourinho, when he revamped teams, he spent a fortune. A lot of people say Mourinho, but he's maybe gone past it a little bit. So whatever happens next is going to define the future of the club. And it's definitely an option there, I think, to say, with a proper summer, with the sporting director bringing enough signings in, with it done in a timely fashion, if he's got the squad and if he's galvanised in the right direction, could Eddie Howe turn things around? And I don't know. I think if it doesn't work out, we'll regret the decision we didn't do. So if we stick with Eddie Howe, we'll be thinking, shouldn't have gone that way. If it doesn't go well next season, if we do get in, we'll be thinking we should have stuck with Howe if things don't go well. Sorry, Hutch, go on.
There was a comment earlier on, and I can't seem to find it, but it was actually an interesting suggestion, and that's maybe that Eddie Howe would benefit.
Oh, Hutch, don't listen to the interesting suggestions. You don't have to put your head up there.
Eddie Howe would benefit from a different backroom staff rather than actually replacing Eddie Howe himself. And you think back to say some of the managers who were in the Premier League for years and years and years and years and years. Like Alex Ferguson had Steve McLaren, Carlos Queiroz, Mike Phelan. Yet he benefited from different ideas at different times, which meant that he himself had that longevity.
Right.
And as much as I love Jason Tindall arguing with people on the sidelines, perhaps.
There's a lot of things I'll tolerate on this programme, Hutch. You know what an open-minded individual I am. But Jason Tindall passion is not one of them. He's just opened a lovely wine bar up Gosforth High Street, and my wife really likes it. So he'll not be going anywhere anytime soon, right? You can serve yourself the wine. If anyone from that wine bar, I've forgotten what it's called, is interested in sponsoring.
Brilliant. Well done. Brilliant. Yeah. That wine bar. Is that what it's called? That wine bar. Is that wine bar? If you know what that wine bar is called, please put it in the chat and help our friend Jamie out of this really awkward commercial opportunity that he's just blown up out of all proportion. Brilliant.
Oh, no.
Say when. It is say when.
Say when, yes. Say when, because you can fill your own wine glasses up. I'm giving it this is giving it a little bit of a public pun anyway, isn't it? Without them offering us anything. But yes, Jason, we'd love you to stay as manager and as a high
street proprietor of Say When wine bar.
Oh, Say When.
I think we got the thing for me is we got the set piece guy in. The set pieces are still pretty terrible, in my humble opinion.
We've scored from more corners this season than we have in about the last 10 combined.
Yeah, we used to really whinge on about how we couldn't score from corners, but yeah, it seems like we only score from corners now. Yeah, and we can't defend.
What did Kenny do in Whitley Bay? 4 pints, he was arrested. Is that the sort of thing we can't talk about?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's move on.
Okay, so interesting one. Actually, I'm just gonna. Well, actually, I'll throw this in from Gromit 1 first. Is this right? 451 crosses and we've scored once.
It felt like it.
Or is 451 just a mad number he's thought of?
I don't even care if that's accurate. It feels very much like that.
It feels about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, because
and he's written it in capitals to give emphasis, so it sounds quite vehement.
I was saying this to our group the other day as well. Voltemade doesn't look like a guy who wants to go and smash the ball in with his head. Like he wants everything on the deck and to his feet. He doesn't seem like he wants to go up and win headers.
Keep trying to do that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
because you've got to mix it up a bit. And I mean, you know,
apparently we're mixing it up 451 times. But that doesn't seem like mixing to me.
He scored a header against Wolverhampton, didn't he? And I think is that the one from a Murphy cross. But he got on the end of a couple against Chelsea as well. But yeah, I think that needs improving, doesn't it? Well, that's indicative of the fact that we don't know how we play. So
yeah, true.
Thank you for the super chat. Can the happy slappers please calm down too far? He either means happy clappers there, or the chat's taking a direction, taking a very subversive twist there.
Let's go with
this. Another £2 just to clarify his stance. That would be great.
Yeah.
And he's also put another one up 4 minutes ago, which I missed saying, you've not come on since you started. Well done. Yeah. I'd assume that means for everybody as well, but we did have sound issues early on, didn't we? And but thank you, I appreciate that. We are getting rather excellent now. We're on the radio.
Just in time to be on the radio. Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, if anyone from any high street bars is listening, we are heartily endorsed by our listeners. Okay, we've got about 8 minutes, so there was one more comment I wanted to look because it's a nice little segue into next week and the games we've got ahead. So, Villa in the cup. Tanguy Red saying, even if we beat Aston Villa, we have to think about the possibility of playing Sunderland in the next round before we play them in the league on the 22nd of March. So, I think, first of all, we don't look past Villa. But if we do happen to get past them, please, 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 we need a kind draw where we just deal with the Quarrier bags and Man City away and all that horrible, horrible fixtures. So, you know, it's about time we got a lower league team at St. James. But let's face up to it. Well, first of all, we've had a bit of a bad run of form lately. There's no denying that. What do you think, lads? Is there a possibility that we are going to get treated by Dr. Tottenham on Tuesday night?
It would be good. Obviously, Romero getting himself suspended yesterday is a bonus, considering he scored the slowest and worst overhead kick against us in the last game. I just don't know. Away, like their fans hate their team like no one else in the Premier League. It's up there with how Everton used to be with their team back in the day. But are
we reopening the Tottenham v Everton conversation?
No. No, we don't. We don't need to have that. I'd like to think it would be one of those easy games, but we just don't know with us at the moment. So, yeah, I'd take a draw probably at the moment. That would be nice just to stop the rot.
I think a draw feels like a likely result because they look like both teams that just neither of them can win a game. And it feels like, you know, if I was a neutral, I'd be going all in on 1-1 or something. Hutch, what's your take on Tottenham? You had a great trip there last year, didn't you?
I had a great trip to Tottenham, yeah. we obviously won. And to be fair, we have a good record against Tottenham. They do seem to be a team that just turns up and lets us win. However, because of our situation currently, I can't look beyond it. Like, you can turn around and say Dr. Tottenham, but you could quite easily say that, Newcastle going anywhere away on the road is just a guaranteed 3 points for the home team. So a team that can't win at home and a team that can't win away.
It's like irresistible force meets the immovable object, isn't it?
But the opposite of that, like plate of jelly meets bowl of custard. Who knows what's going to win? Yeah.
Fantastic dessert.
Which of these pathetic disgraces can be slightly less pitiful for a couple of hours on Tuesday night?
Yeah.
So what are you going with then? I'll push us for a little prediction.
I'll take 1-1. I'll go 1-1. Stick with I think it'll be a draw.
I'm just flashing
just to be different, I think. He hasn't paid for that. I wouldn't have done that. I'm going to go 1-0.
2.
Oh, unknown.
Toss a coin and decide. I'm going to go 1-0 to us. I'm going to be positive.
Good man. That's positivity. Well done.
1-0 to us. Lots of throw-ins, 7 yellow cards, and at the end of the day, football was the loser, Brian. So, I think, again, as I said, when we come back next week, there's going to be another serious introspection on the season if we are out of the FA Cup. So, Hutch, you went second there, so I'm just going to say this. Villa away. I did mention before, Aston Villa have struggled a bit since they beat us the other week. Lost to 10-man Brentford, drew with Bournemouth, I think, yesterday. Lost at home to Everton.
They're going to beat us 2-0. It'll be comfortable.
Thank you. Simon?
Oh, do they do replays anymore?
No.
Oh, we're going to lose.
Because that's exactly what we need, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, exactly. I think we'll lose 2-1.
Yeah, I think if I'm going entirely with my head, I think I've got to back Villa, even though I reckon it might be close. I think, probably something like that. I think it'll probably be, right, the game that would probably annoy me the most is 1-0 to Villa. They score quite early on, and we have an acre of a game to try and get back at them, and we end up not having a shot on target. That's the sort of thing. But, hey, the romance of the cup, it can do strange things, can't it? So I think we're all feeling a bit pessimistic about that. And then the following week involves Azerbaijan and then Man City away. So batten down the hatches for 4 straight away games.
Aye.
And I think I get the feeling things might get worse before they get better. So, 1 minute to 9. I do believe 90s mags are usually on next. But wouldn't you thought I'd have got this schedule before I started talking into a mic? Hey, we'll have some laughs, don't we? But I guess this is us signing off then for the next week. Lads, I won't see you much this week because we're not doing these games, are we? But we'll catch up next time to see if things have turned out better than we expected. But until then, thanks for your comments. Thanks for your super chats. Stay tuned to NUFC Talk Radio, or if this is a podcast you're listening to, then enjoy whatever you're doing while you're podcasting. And I'll speak to you all next week.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Hutch, say goodbye.
I have said goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.
Ciao, everyone.